today I figured I would do a taco hell because I'm really fucking angry and I had a really awful day because of two people, and they can go fuck themselves is what they can do. And I just want to start this out by saying that pregnant people are not exempt from being nice. I don't care if they have hormones. They need to be dignified people who treat other people with fucking respect. And now transitioning, when I got to work today, there was a line of people. I walked behind the line and the food all looked really disgusting and dry and like they hadn't changed out the containers. And when I looked up, there was a couple with two kids and the couple was yelling at my coworker. And this is what I walked into. So today you're walking into this story just as fast as I did. So pregnant lady and her husband are yelling at my coworker because he's not putting sour cream on the tacos correctly for the kids. Also, the kids' tacos don't have sour cream on them. Wrath was just being nice by putting sour cream on them. And I decided that I was going to ring them out because Wrath was getting really frustrated with them. And I decided I'd probably kind of, try and save him from this moment. So I rang up the meal, and they read our daily special board wrong and were getting very upset with us because we weren't applying the special correctly. But I had already processed the husband's payment. So when I put the special in, although they thought the special was a different thing, they didn't like the price and they made me refund the transaction and do it correctly for a price change of $3.50. It wasn't actually the special, and he really just kind of yelled at me, and then the wife yelled at me, and it wasn't even really my fault. And I'm just really fucking mad because I'm probably going to get in trouble for the store being dirty because I'm the one who rang them out even though I wasn't even fucking there.
And I'm here too. That was one hell of a story. What the fuck?
They yelled at me and they made me refund the payments to redo it. And it was really dirty. So when they complained on the survey, and they told me they were going to complain on the survey, I got really upset because I know I'm probably going to be held accountable from our owner that doesn't pay attention, even though I wasn't even supposed to be clocked in yet. They just had a line of people and I showed up 10 minutes early.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds basically like you were fucked.
Yeah.
In every aspect. I think the problem with doing the Eminem Rap God intro is that we've now told the entire story in 2.5 minutes. Well,
I'll just give you more details.
Yeah, go ahead. Run us through it again, but in slow motion.
Okay, so I walked in, and there was a line of people. And I debated whether or not I wanted to help, because it was only like 6 or 7 people, which isn't really that hard. But then I looked up, and this pregnant lady was just berating my coworker. He was making 2 separate kids tacos, which are just meat and cheese. And it does say that on the menu. And he was putting on lettuce, pico de gallo, and sour cream. And she was mad at him for not spreading the sour cream good enough on top of the tacos. And then she demanded he put more on. Mm-hmm. And so then, after the kids were taken care of, he made her burrito, and I made the husband's burrito. Mm-hmm. And I was still really nice to the husband. Like, I was hoping, pregnant hormones, just crazy lady, like, whatever, let's just...
Bygones be bygones, let water lie under the sleeping dogs, etc.
Yeah, exactly. And so... I was kind of talking up the husband, just like, oh, what are you doing today? Doing anything fun? And the wife was just glaring at me. Like, she already had a problem.
Oh, boy.
Like, before any of this went down, like, she was already angry. And so, he seemed uncomfortable, but he still went along with it. And basically, their special, they were supposed to get, like, 2... They wanted to have 2 coupons, but they only got 1. So I went to ring them out, and they were basically trying to do 2 BOGO purchases, but we could only do 1 per transaction. Mm-hmm. And that's what the owner told me. That's important for later in the story.
Pretty standard fast food shit. Like, we use a lot of coupons, and that's pretty standard fast food shit.
Yeah, only 1 per transaction, right?
Right.
So I put the transaction through. The husband, clicked the thing on the menu to put it through. And then the wife came over and was like, so there's 2 of these, right? And like already, as I said, angry, already kind of berating Raph, already in a mood to have a fight. Mm-hmm. And I went, no, I only did 1. So she looked on the menu behind me and was like looking through the stuff, and she went, no, it clearly says 2. And I said, no, it's just 1. And then the husband kind of piped up and was like, that's false advertisement. And, it was very clear that they were upset with me. They were upset with me. And I was like, I can't do that. And they were like, yeah, you can. And I was like, no, I can't. And they said, oh, that's false advertisement. And then I was like, well, the transaction already went through. You already clicked it. And they said, you can't just like undo it. And I said, no, and so I eventually was like, I can refund it and then redo it. So they made me do that, which took like 3 minutes, by the way, which is a long time at a fast food restaurant.
For sure.
And so I gave them their shit. I wasn't like rude or anything. I had a little bit of like an annoyed attitude, not even necessarily like an aggressive attitude. So I was a little just kind of like fed up, I guess is how I'd say it with them. And I wasn't being all like, oh yeah, if you need anything, come and let me know. Like I wasn't doing any of that. And so they came back like 10 minutes later, and the husband wanted a receipt. And I was like done with them. Because they can print a receipt whenever they want to. But, they can print a receipt, like, on the screen if they want to. But, like, the husband was like, I want a receipt. So I fucking, like, was getting pedantic at this point. I was just like, which receipt would you like? And he was like, what do you mean? And I said, there's the receipt that I have from the initial transaction. There's this one you were supposed to sign. There's one from the first transaction. There's one from the second transaction afterwards. Like, which one are we talking about? And he was like, I guess the first one. And then the wife came up and she went, what store number is this? And I don't really know. Like, the chain I work for is like kind of smaller.
You should have just told her, it's store 420. It's store 69. It's store 666.
Oh, God, I get in so much trouble.
Probably.
Because that's, like, actually something that's wrong. I guess my whole point, by the way, is that I don't really think I did anything wrong.
I don't think so. I think, like, 1 per purchase is standard as fuck, and they were just misreading the stupid sign.
Yeah, well, it gets worse.
Oh, God.
So, anyway, I told her I didn't know, and we kind of had a back and forth about how, like, why don't you know? There's nothing in the back. And I said no, and she was like, what do you guys call it by? And I said, well, look at the receipt. The receipt has the address on it. And she said, I'm going to do the survey. What do I put in? And I said, I think it's the address. I don't know. Like, I don't go around taking surveys to a place I've never actually bought anything from.
Yeah.
Like...
You don't eat at your own job.
I've never purchased food from my own job. I've had people buy me food, like, when I was a kid, but I've never actually bought food from them before.
Yeah.
But anyway... So we just kind of had this little banter back and forth about how I didn't know what the store number was, even though the address, like, first of all, you can Google it, the address. Second of all, the address was on the receipt. And then she was like, what's your name?
Oh my God.
And I said,
I don't think they can ask. Can they ask you that? Do you have to answer?
I don't know. I think yes.
Really?
Yeah, I think you do have to tell them.
That's a little weird.
And then I went, Megan, and she went, what's your manager's name and number? And I laughed at her and I went, I'm not giving you my manager's phone number. And that really ticked her off.
Yeah.
But I said, her name is...
I thought she was in our naming scheme, wasn't she?
Yeah. Well, I didn't say her name is Lust, but, Lust. And I spelled it for her because it's spelled unconventionally. And then she turned to Wrath, and she was like, what's his name? And I didn't say anything, but he said his name. I wasn't gonna. But,
wow.
Yeah, so we were...
Who the fuck does she think she is?
Yeah, and then the husband, like, interrogated me about, like, how am I supposed to know if this went through? Like, when is it coming through? Like, did you actually... And I was just like, okay, like, whoa... And then they left, and they kind of sat outside, like, for a while, and that was kind of uncomfortable. But then I called the manager because, with this kind of stuff, if you can kind of preemptively strike and explain yourself, it kind of softens the blow a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I just told her that this lady was being crazy and stuff, and I told her that she was probably going to make a lot of comments about it being dirty because that's the only grounds that she actually had. And the manager was like, okay, yeah, we'll talk about it a little bit when I get there. And I was like, okay. So then I texted the owner, and the owner went, you only do one per purchase. We need to change that.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
And that's the only thing he had to say about it.
God
And I was trying to
wow.
be like, hey, you know, like, this isn't a regular. This lady was being kind of harsh. Also want to mention I wasn't even supposed to be there yet. Like, all I did was ring him out. And he was just like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Why don't you guys do this? We need to change that. Which I'm pretty sure he told us in the first place to only do one per purchase.
Of course he did.
But everything else we do was one per purchase.
Yeah. Whatever.
Like every other coupon we have, we do one per purchase. Every other deal we have one per purchase.
I'm so sorry. That really sucks. This is the first time I'm hearing any of this.
Oh, yeah. I wanted it to be realistic, so I didn't say anything. All I said was that I wanted to talk about it.
Yeah.
On the show.
For sure.
You know, I don't know. It kind of seemed like the manager was upset about it, though, because, like, she didn't text me back at all for, like, hours when I texted her about something else.
Mm-hmm.
And she did call. I didn't talk to her, though, but she didn't seem mad. But the reason I guess I'm concerned is because about a month ago, I also got another, like, off the cuff, just a person in a bad mood complaining. I didn't even serve them that time. They just walked in and walked out. But the more you get fake, like, I would say fake, like, surveys, but like surveys that are exaggerations or surveys that aren't true, like, the less they believe you when you're like, this isn't true. And I'm just kind of starting to worry, like, are they, like, is she really not guilty of all this? Or, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like, so to have one happen so close to another one was kind of nerve-wracking, I guess.
Yeah. That is some shit.
Yeah, and it's like I've never actually had anybody complain about my customer service and have it be a valid thing, but just like, I don't know, you know, it was just really annoying. And if I get in trouble for like having any sort of attitude or anything, I'm gonna be really upset because I had someone yelling at me.
I like can't believe I prophesized all of this too. I mean, I didn't, but like I said today before you went to work that I wanted to do another Taco Hell as the next episode.
Yeah.
And then this shit happened.
Yeah. God. And I guess the rest of the day was pretty reasonable after that, but it was like the first thing. It was like the first thing that happened. And it just put me in such a bad mood for like the rest of the evening up until now.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't stop talking about it with my coworker. We were just like, what the hell?
That must suck. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And that explains why you shuffled into bed all sad when you came home today. And I had
Yeah.
to give you a big old hug.
And we snuggle with Barnabas.
Barna, warna, 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 warna.
No, that's the prophecy. I figured we should put, like, Liam's clothes on him.
Oh, yeah. We should definitely put
Because I
Liam-
think they're about the same size.
Yeah, if that works, you'll know about it. Follow us at the usual locations.
Oh, and I actually wanted to end this on a happy note because, you know, that's some really heavy shit, and I want some of these to be like positive. I got tipped a sewing machine a few days ago.
Oh, that was really cool.
I don't remember exactly what happened because it was such a long time ago, and I didn't I just kind of forgot
2
about
days.
it.
So long.
No, I meant the initial thing. But right before Christmas, this lady came in, and I was asking her about her day. I really like to just kind of talk to the customers in between stuff just because, you know, it makes things less uncomfortable. And she was telling me about how she was, like, shopping for a sewing machine. A sewing machine.
Sean Connery showing machine.
And
Sean Connery showing machine shop.
And she was like, do you want my old one? And I said, sure.
Yes.
And I just thought she was like a crazy lady or something. And she never came back. And I didn't really think anything of it. And then she walked in a few days ago. And she looked up and she saw me. And she went, oh, thank goodness you're here. I have the sewing machine in the back of my car. And you haven't been around for me to give it to you. And then she went on to explain as I was making her food that she's come in 4 or 5 times. But I just haven't been in.
Aww.
And how she, like, was in a weird, like, she got pulled over, but she didn't have any insurance, but the cop was cool about it, and she had it in her trunk when that happened, and it was weird. And then she walked out, and she came back in, and she brought me this, like, really small portable, like, sewing machine, and I was like, thank you. And that is today the coolest tip I've ever gotten.
Yeah. And you've gotten some cool tips.
Yeah, that is competing with a vegan barbecue sandwich. I got tipped a vegan barbecue sandwich.
And it was good.
It was not good.
Oh, right.
It was actually kind of gross.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the sewing machine wins then.
Yeah. And a Dr. Pepper from the Dollar Tree.
Well, now you know.
Now you know.
Now you know that the sewing machine in a fight would beat the sandwich and the Dr. Pepper from the Dollar Tree.
Combined.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can make clothes now.
So next week on Robot Wars...
Anyway, tip your waitresses. Don't yell at people for prices or discounts. And just because you're pregnant doesn't mean you get to be a cunt. Just because your wife is pregnant doesn't mean you get to be a cunt. Also, such a bad example for those kids. The girls were like, 10, 11 or so, like old enough to be like, oh, that's how my mom acts. That's how I'll act.
Yeah.
It was really embarrassing. It was Mother's Day, too. Mother's Day, people.